Saturday, September 15th, Marilyn channeling John.
Arnold, do you want to say a prayer, and then Matt can come in and do the second prayer and bring us into the Lord's Prayer, okay?
That's the Indian language that they use on Digit Sound. It means in the name of the Father and the Son and Holy Spirit. Nasi Hahak Shaksiyab means the sacred. We thank you, great Spirit, loving God, for being with Marilyn and sharing these beautiful spiritual messages. We thank you for each one who's gathered here with open hearts for healing, love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude. And we thank you for all those who are here witnessing this in the spiritual world. And we just send out forgiveness and love, compassion throughout the world, especially to my family at this time, Chris Stevens, mother, Mary Commodé, Ian and Pete, and their family, Marcy. We send out love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude to everyone involved in that, Marcy, that we will truly have peace in that part of the Middle East. And we just pray for each one who is being sent to those regions, especially Afghanistan, Iraq, and other places there. They're so hotly contested over, Mercy. We just pray for our country, pray for our people, and we know that all sentient beings are important on our planet. We know we're all preparing for ascension, and we just ask you to guide us in that very special work of preparation. Thank you, blessed God. Hahak Shaksiyab Shishokri Mal Sansaspi. Hahak Shaksiyab Disquakwatsal the Hatsahil. Was reality Gusabal the Hatsahil School Dos CCD. Thank you, Mercy.
Father, Mother God, I thank you for bringing us together at this time, this day, this place, to experience this interface between our spiritual world and the physical world. And today to help gain a better understanding of who we are physically, who we are spiritually, and answer many questions that we have asked in the past and don't fully understand. Let's join together in the Lord's Prayer, and we'll follow that with the surround prayer. In the Lord's Prayer, we'll use not debts and debtors, the other one, trespasses. Trespasses. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
we surround ourselves with the holy divine, white Christ light of the great white brotherhood, and ask that none shall manifest unto us, except that of the highest, the truest, and the best. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Well, good morning. I should say good afternoon to everybody.
Hi, Martha.
Hi, Martha. It's so nice to be here.
Thank you, Martha. We're kind of disorganized.
That's okay. Are you ready to turn the music off? We're ready to move on. And I hope everybody's settled. Well, this is such a nice summer of good sunny weather for everybody. Hope you're all enjoying it. Yes, Martha.
Yes, we are.
Thank you, Martha. Yes.
Well, you know, some summers haven't been this nice, so it's one to appreciate and enjoy.
Yes.
So I know that everybody's eager to hear what's going on today. It's going to be a little different than usual. And so John will explain it when he comes in. So I'm going to just say toodaloo.
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 Good afternoon.
Good
Good
afternoon,
afternoon,
John.
John.
So glad to have you people here today to visit with, and I hope that you understand and appreciate that we've changed things a little bit today. And I just be patient. Mac is going to help us out today by there's a book about everything you always wanted to know and were afraid to ask. Well, today it's not everything you were afraid to ask, it's everything you forgot to ask. So Mac, I've written things out for Mac to just explore different points of information that people are usually curious about and forget to ask those particular concerns and think, oh, I should have asked that. So Mac, if you would like to start us off with what the first concern is a lot of people ask about or forget to ask, and we'll just talk about that for a minute.
Okay, John, before we do, there's 12 basic points here, and some of them have more than one question. Do you want me to read each question individually, or just like on one, there's about 6 questions in one? Shall I read them all at once?
Well, they all pertain to basically the same understanding. So if you just read number 1 and then number 2 is each time the next section comes, we're ready for the next discussion, just go by the numbers.
I'll do that. The first one seems to have to do with joy.
Right.
Is it possible to live with real joy? What is real joy? How might people distinguish true joy from the illusion of joy? Is there a difference between the joy of the higher self and the joy of personality? Is it possible to have both?
Well, that's a wonderful question, and what brought that to my mind is a friend of Marilyn's who asked her about different levels of joy, and she's willing to stay in third dimension to appreciate the joy in her life today. And I just would like to know and let other people know that there's so much more beyond third dimensional joy. So you do not have to settle for less than best. If you are aware of the emotional scale of moving through the different levels and vibrations of energy that are less than joyous down in the fear and shame dimensions, which are far deeper emotional negativity that is a very low density. And as you gradually move up through the angers and the resentments and the upsets and the disappointments into higher and higher emotional areas of energy, you will acquire joy and you'll start having joy. And this is usually the joy in third dimension. And it is a huge success if you are feeling joy in your life, which the people here today, I believe, do. And to say that that's good enough when there is really a brighter picture on the horizon, especially with the ascension coming, I don't want people to limit themselves. I would like to suggest that there's more to come. The best is yet to come. So as you are in that joyous state of third dimension, it will actually be leaving at the end of this year because lower energy will not be sustainable in the fifth dimension that's going to be coming in at December 21st, 2012. And so as you leave behind the old emotions and go into being those perfect children of love that you are, you will no longer have the lower intensity of feelings to distract from your joy. Your joy is going to become more pure and of higher vibrations into bliss, ecstasy, and words that you are not even in touch with as yet because you have not experienced it. But as you go into fifth dimension, the intensity of joy will rise and rise over time, and you will be filled more and more with the loving joy that is your birthright. and there will not be the distractions or the lower, denser energy to, you might say, dilute the joy. And you'll be going into a pure joy of totally being who you are. And some people will say, well, what is it really like to be in a higher dimension of joy in the fifth dimension? And it's very hard to explain from this point of view of the lower dimension. So I would just like to give you a little analogy of what you have to look forward to. It has been said that when you are in a state of joy, it is like having an orgasm 24 hours a day. So you can have that to look forward to, and know that your joy is just increasing and increasing as the lower energies are leaving, and you are going to be in an ecstasy that will be wonderful. So you do not limit yourself and say the joy of just third dimension is enough. I would encourage you to move on and go into those higher dimensions we're coming in and allow them to flow into your lives and to experience that bliss of the highest emotional love in your life of who you are, and return back to that actual emotional state that is just truly love without anything to dilute it and distort it, so, or take away your focus from the truth of who you are. I hope that answers a lot of questions about joy today. You want to read the next one?
Second question. Is the higher self different from the self that people know? How might people reach their higher selves? Is it the same for each person? What does the higher self feel like?
Well, that is a very good question, and most people are very concerned about if they're in a spiritual growth and spiritual experiences that your life is increasing and improving to reach your higher self. Your higher self is that part of you. There is a larger part of your soul, and only that part came to earth that was necessary for you to be able to go through the lessons that were part of your script, or written and identified for the lessons necessary for your soul to come together, to be unified in love and become whole again. So you are whole spirits, but only part of you came down to earth to help complete the process. So the part that people see on the third dimensional planet is your personality that came to earth, the personality necessary for those particular assignments that you needed to walk through and heal and bring balance into your life. And yes, in doing this third dimensional trip so that you can heal those aspects of yourself that were needing to come into oneness as you're on that path, you will find that in your past there was a lot of painful experiences that you've accomplished that now you're here to say, oh, I went through that one, I've been there, done that. And those, some were unkind, being unkind to others, and learning how to change your reactions in situations, learning how to send out love and forgiveness, how to come into compassion. And in doing those lessons, as you walk through them the first time, maybe you missed the lesson and had to do it again, and it might have been a problem for someone in your relationship as you were not maybe your best personality at that point in your lesson. And of course, people will often pick out your shortcomings or your faults, as they call them. So they will say, oh, that person's a grumpy person or an angry person, but those are the personality traits. And as you eliminate those through healing with the love in your life and learning how to release what isn't loving, and you come more and more into being that channel of God's love, and your personality actually changes. It says in the Bible we become a new creature, and in that case that's true. You become that loving, walking, breathing image of your higher power. Now, your higher power is also in other places in the universe at the same time you're here on earth. So as you return back and come into your complete soul collective consciousness, then you are on your pathway to moving into the total oneness. So different people will probably identify you by different characteristics and personalities, but your changing personality will finally become into the wholeness and love that you are trying to achieve. Everyone gets there. It's just the time factor of when you choose to do that and how fast you tend to accomplish those different lessons that you provided for yourself. So would you repeat that? There's something I'm missing of what you said, Mac. Would you read it number 2 again?
Is the higher self different from the self that people know? How might people reach their higher selves? Is it the same for each person? What does the higher self feel like?
All right. Well, you reach your higher self through meditation. That is one way. Anything that will raise your consciousness into the higher dimension of altered state. There are other ways to do it besides meditation. Hypnosis is a guided meditation to help people do that. And as you grow spiritually, yes, your higher power will change into being the real, true self of who you are as you eliminate your defects of character into the loving results of the truth of yourself. So you do change so that it becomes the perfected you, the real you, and the negative aspects of your life fade away as they are no longer part of your experience. There was still one more part of that. Would you read it one more time, Mac? Maybe it is difficult to do them all at once.
Is the higher self different from the self that people know? How might people reach their higher selves? Is it the same for each person? What does the higher self feel like?
Okay, it is not the same for every person, because you came as that part of God's Spirit to earth to manifest your individual assignment, which is different than other people's. So that's why you cannot compare yourself to anybody else. You are here to extend God's love into the physical world in the particular way your lessons were designed for you, and you agreed to them when you came in. So when it all comes back into oneness, yes, it will all come back into being the same. But in the third dimensional world, you all are individually in your own space of only that part of your soul necessary for that part of this experience on earth, and it will appear differently, but appearances can be deceiving, so don't let them, what appears on earth is not necessarily what happens in spirit. I think we're ready to move on.
Okay, the third question. What is the function of the will? Can it be directed without force? How might one direct it in other ways to get what one wants? How can your will serve you? What things can you do to create what you want? Processes, techniques, etc. That's the end.
All right. Well, the will is a very important part of your experience. If you did not have a will, you would be like a robot, taking orders to do what was necessary, and there would be no choices, decisions, or experience. The will allows spirit to flow, or not flow if you choose to work against your assignment that you came to earth to perform. If you block that purpose of which you are here for by resistance, allowing the fear to overcome you, not seeing fear as just a block in the road of coming to what you truly want, and not letting it distract you from that moving forward. So the will can you can choose not to move forward. Some people have said on occasions, I'm not going to handle that in this lifetime, I'm going to do that the next time I come around. And that's their will not to face the issues in front of them at this point in time. There is not good in that, and there is not bad. It just means it will prolong their return home. If that's what they choose to do, that's perfectly fine. But it's your will that determines the avenue or the path, that how quickly you move down it. And some people aren't in a hurry, and that's okay. You know, we came to enjoy the planet. No one gave you a timeline. However, as those people that are growing and are eager to move ahead choose to take the steps to move forward, and they have the will to choose that, then you can move into a better place that produces a happier life, because you are choosing then to align your energy with that of God or the higher power or the spirit. And as you align your energy with the spiritual energy of the universe, you start to flow. Your energy flows into your life. And that is really the most important part of will, is to make your will aligned to God's will. So when you do this, and Marilyn has a class she's taught several times on spiritual alignment, as you align your will to God's will, you move forward, and your life becomes more pleasant, because the resistance is what causes the pain of not moving forward. So that it's the illnesses that pop up that show and indicate that you are not in spiritual alignment. And as you move forward into being more and more of who you truly are up the emotional scale, this is what happens. Your energy rises as you move forward and do the work of releasing the negative energy and aligning more and more with God's love. As you do that, your emotional body goes up the emotional scale. More and more love, less and less fear. And that's how you attract to you those things you truly want. They will come like a magnet to you, and you will be overjoyed at the receiving of these wonderful things you always wanted, but you have moved out of the way from the past ideas into accepting and flowing with the God Spirit within you. And that is what so many people in recovery do not, in this kind of spiritual recovery, do not understand. It's not the feelings on the surface that is what you're concerned about. Yes, they do indicate the emotional body of what's inside of you, and that's the trick, to see where am I emotionally inside, because that's what I'm attracting. So am I moving my emotional life into a higher loving experience? And as I move up the ladder of emotional scale, better and better things will come into your life. Things will start to flow into your life. Wonderful new experiences will occur. Things that you once thought were on the back burner, all of a sudden the dam breaks open and opportunities are on your doorstep. So it is a very wise thing to use your will appropriately. All right, would you read it one more time to make sure I have answered what I feel is important?
What is the function of the will? Can it be directed without force? How might one direct it in other ways to get what one wants? How can your will serve you? What things can you do to create what you want? Processes, techniques, etc.
Very good. Yes, well, I've covered the basis pretty well, and I don't usually promote Marilyn's work at this point, but the book she just finished that she's been working on for 20 years really does help give the information and process of how to definitely do this, how to change your will into becoming God's will in your life. And it is a process, and it happens gradually, and it's not painful. It is just a choice. When you choose to go the route of a spiritual path, then your actions and behaviors have to match what your choice is. And as you go down that path, you will notice that your emotions will go up higher as you are beginning to understand you are love, and you're passing it out to others as you're loving yourself and receiving love from others. You will definitely find yourself in line with God's will. And those are the people that are usually the most happy, the most aware and awake. And so you're doing yourself a big favor by aligning your will and putting it in the hands of God and owning it and acting as if you are the God within. The Father and I are one, and that is the best choice of will I can suggest. Would be good. Let's move on.
Number 4. This is a short one. How might people bring more light into their lives?
That is a wonderful one, because you see, third dimension has really caused a lot of darkness in a lot of lives. However, that was in the intent of this coming to planet Earth in third dimension. If you try to change your energy in your spiritual, I'm trying to find words of your vernacular. If you come to Earth to heal and mend and balance your life, you came into darkness because that's what your script was, because those were the things that needed the light. And as you identify those items and face them for what they are, accept that maybe that painful experience happened, and emotionally experience the feeling. And this is something people find very difficult to do. If you were wounded as a child or in another experience later in life, there are wounds and hurts and pains and abuse, victimization, all kinds of difficulties that you have had to go through. You probably, because of the basis of third dimension, stuffed those feelings. And in stuffing them, the light cannot shine. It actually hampers the light from happening in your life. It cannot come out and shine. Fear stops the light. So it's a matter of saying, I am going to face the fear. It's just an illusion that kept me protected as a younger person, but today I am an adult, and to face that experience and feel it, and know that in feeling it, I am releasing the energy of it. That dark energy can leave that has been suppressed inside. And as that dark energy leaves, more light can shine. So as you progress through your spiritual growth, identifying not only fears, but resentments, angers, guilt, shame, all those negative dark energies, as you release them, and realize that that's not who you are in the first place. You know, you were created in the image of God. You are a light being, and your job is to release any blockages or obstacles that stop the light from shining. You do not have to look for God. God's already within. All you have to do is release the roadblocks or the barriers that have been built up over the years, because it's been scary to emotionally be out there in your light, because you were hurt when you were younger and you're afraid you'll be hurt again. And I am here to tell you that as a mature adult, you can look at those things and see how childish you reacted, and maybe because you didn't see a bigger picture, you now can put together the pieces and realize those experiences have made you who you are today. And you can maybe now joyfully accept that that needed to happen to teach you love. It taught you faith. It taught you compassion. And it probably taught you forgiveness for those around you that caused the harms and the hurts. And now you can give up those situations and people in your life. See them as they did you a service. They allowed you to move out of the dark pain into allowing more of your light to shine. And it wouldn't have, the energy could not have moved any other way. That's why you're in third dimension, is to have that happen. It does not go that way in fifth dimension. It is very, very long and arduous to change energy in fifth dimension. It is much quicker to do it in third dimension. And of course, you know, it seems like as soon as you solve one situation, another one pops up. And that's what third dimension is your approach to be able to handle all of these things in a lifetime or many lifetimes until finally the dark energy that has not been the light of who you are can finally not any longer be in the way of stopping your light from shining. So as you move into allowing yourself to be the total God that you are and the wholeness of who you are, that you are perfect as you are, anything that precludes that stops your light from shining and is a lie. So I suggest that you identify anything in your thinking or your emotional life or your actions that still come from limiting yourself from being the light of God. I think that writing those down and just taking them to a fireplace or a nice little wood fire in the backyard, if you have a little bonfire, and throw that list in there and just burn it up and give it to the ethers. Resolve those issues and really truly let your light shine, because that is who you are and the truth of who you are. Thank you.
I like the song, This Little Light of Mine.
That is,
I'm going to let it shine.
That's a marvelous song, and it is so true, and it is not just for children, it is for everyone. In Marilyn's class, she gave people flashlights to remember that their light was supposed to always shine.
Yes, I remember that. I'd carry one in my pocket. Number 5. Does everyone have a life purpose? What are some of the reasons people choose to be born? What kind of things are people working on in Earth lifetimes?
That is a very, very wonderful question. You see, it's, in third dimension, we are taught to look at different people and criticize, judge, and say, oh, I know what they should be doing, or they aren't doing it the way they should be. And there's a lot of gossip, adversity directed at other people, and opinions run high. It's sad that that happens, because everybody has come to Earth with a purpose. And to see the purpose in why everybody is there can become very beautiful. It might not be the way you want it. It might not have been the way you would have liked it to be. But that person in your life is the perfect teacher for you. The ones that are the most painful are usually your best teachers that has gone on for years possibly, teaching you to send love to that person. So you see, some lessons are easier than others. It might be someone at work that you have a disagreement with, or they seem to rub you the wrong way. But if you look in their heart, they are just as much a child of God as you are. If you see in their essence, they are handling their life like they need to for your action to be positive and respond in caring, loving ways. You are then changing your energy into being that loving person that you truly are. If you continue the strife and the wariness of the situation, you only stop your light from shining, which we just talked about. You continue the pain and misery in your life. Now, the person at work, maybe it's a matter of saying some kind things to them, maybe a little present that you could just put on their desk and say, oh, I was just thinking about you when I saw this. And change that energy into, oh, maybe she does like me. Maybe I could be a little kinder around her. So you see, there are many ways that people are in our lives for various reasons. Employees and people that we socialize with are usually easier to come into acceptance that I'm learning from this situation, and what did I learn from it? It's much, much harder in your family. Those people are probably in your soul group and have reincarnated over and over with you many, many lifetimes, playing out different roles for they're agreeing to play possibly your mother in this lifetime, or your father in another lifetime, or your child, or your uncle, or your son, or they were part of your family in some way, and they just switch roles each lifetime to help you with their agreeing to play out the situation. And it was always because they loved you so much, they wanted to see you spiritually grow, and they were willing to be the bad guy, the guy that caused all the trouble, all the headaches. If he just cleaned up his act, my life would be wonderful. And that's the person you're pointing the finger at. However, you are projecting your own hurts and wounds, and it's really you that need to clean up your act. When you send out and change that energy to a loving interchange of energy, that person will respond differently. You will notice that you can create your environment around you by what you're sending out. Your life will just turn inside out, upside down. That's kind of what will happen in the fifth dimension. It's basically no more will we be sending out that negative, unkind, fearful, protective type energy. It will not be able to sustain in fifth dimension, and so you will feel the unity and harmony and the wonderful cooperation and the caring that comes from sending out love, and it's going to be coming back to you. And that's why people call it heaven. It will feel like heaven, and you are here on earth to practice that so that you are ready and more prepared for that as time is progressing quickly. Now, sometimes people come into your life in ways that are kind of difficult to understand. It might be a child who has learning problems or medical conditions, or as some people call it, crib death experiences, where people have misunderstood. The child showed up for a short period of time, and the parents needed whatever spiritual experience and growing to deal with it and accepting the reality of that situation. And sometimes parents have been without cause of the people in third dimension understanding that those were experiences that were planned out and necessary for their spiritual growth, and punishment has come to some parents that was not really necessary. In fact, most of the people in prisons today are there because somebody was not loving and caring towards them, and so they're acting out, saying, please love me, please love me. And so the consciousness of planet Earth is for us to give up saying those people that came to Earth in the situation were here for me to see that we're all one. We're all part of the same spirit, and I need to love those parts that are not as lovable because they're acting out the part of me that's not lovable. So when I can change loving myself that I was not happy about before, when I can transform that energy into accepting the good and the bad inside of me, then I can see the good and bad inside of you, and then the bad is not important because we've neutralized it with love, and it disappears and fades away, and the whole planet will become one in love. You are here to change the energy of the planet Earth. And everybody's here to play a part in that role. And the more you look for the love in the lessons in the situation, you're raising the consciousness. And Mother Earth is so pleased with so many people becoming awake at this time and allowing her to come to rebirth, you might say, from the depths of despair that she was in 70 years ago, calling for help. And you people sitting in this room have come to change that energy, not just with your loved ones, not just with the people you associate with, but for all of mankind. And yes, there are still difficulties in the world that are erupting only because the dark side does not want to give up its control, but it is losing its power by the day. The power is fading away with more and more love coming into your hearts. And so as you raise your energy and love for those around you and those that are playing out their parts geographically in other locations, knowing that it is all turning into coming up to the surface to dissipate, that the love can finally come in and it be the experience of this planet. And you are really then appreciative of those people that are playing out those parts so that that energy transformation can occur. So as you see it from a different point of view, I hope that makes a little bigger picture for you to understand you're just part of a bigger picture that is actually happening before your eyes. This is an amazing time in history. I want to applaud you people for coming and participating and bearing the lessons that you have carried and changing those in your heart so that you are no longer in that critical mode of others, no longer intolerant, impatient, but you have changed into the principles of love and integrity and sincerity, and you have kindness and generosity in your hearts, and that's what we're moving into, and you are part of that huge, huge transformation. And to give yourself a wonderful applause and understanding and affirmation that you are doing a marvelous job in this. So I want to let you know that you're all appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
Next question. Short one. Is this truly an abundant and friendly universe?
That's a very good question, with the ETs in their spaceships surrounding us and trying to convince us that that is true. And it is true. You see, the only thing that stops abundance is your mindset. And you have been conditioned extremely well to see the scarcity and the poverty and the lack of. There is no lack of oil. There is no poverty in the world except in your intellectual conditioning, but in your heart you are filled with riches and goodness and generosity and all the things that are necessary you can manifest in your life. It's just that you've had blinders and earplugs on that stop that abundance from coming to you. As you release the fears, more and more abundance will appear. It's always been there. It's just releasing the blinders from your eyes, layer upon layer, so more and more you can actually realize and experience the abundance that has always been there. And third dimension purposely had blinders and earplugs because this was your path, was to learn that we do not have the misery and the pain. That is an illusion that we separated from God. And when we are now, we never separated from God. It's always been there. And as we move back into seeing that, experiencing that, and living in that love of all total abundance and prosperity, this is your birthright. Your abundance is your birthright. You people limit yourselves so severely in third dimension of what is truly there around you and available to you. And that's going to be the glory of fifth dimension, is you will open your eyes to the abundance and you don't think so small. We have been having Marilyn watch certain programs on television so she can see how limited she has been viewing life in her experience on Earth. And as you move into the higher fifth dimension, you will be much more aware and it will be available. And do not limit your imaginations. The sky is the limit. What was the part besides the abundance? It was in the...
Is it a friendly universe?
Oh, definitely a friendly universe. It never has been unfriendly. However, you have been taught to think it has been unfriendly. You see, if people keep that mindset in others, then you have a separation of us and them. They're the enemy. And that we're doing it right and they're doing it wrong. And in that separation, it gets another way to keep you out of the abundance. They have the oil and we need the oil. They have the whatever, the gold, and we want their gold. You see, and that keeps you separated. So as you learn, I lost my train of thought. Would you read it one more time?
The whole question is this truly an abundant and friendly universe?
Oh, very good. You see, they create the unfriendliness. And the dark sides have done that very well for many years, keeping the truth from the people, that those from other planets, other space, stars, galaxies, universes are unfriendly. It actually is the opposite. However, if you don't know the truth, then you don't have the ability to see the truth, and they don't want you to see the truth. And the truth is that those coming from other places are coming to be helpful. There are brothers and sisters. There are spiritual and universal family. And welcome them with arms and greetings and love and acceptance and gratitude, that because they are coming, the planet can be restored back to the Garden of Eden. You see, they have technologies that have been hidden from you, and they are already in the process of cleaning air pollution and cleaning the waterways and doing those things to restore the forests that have been brutally chopped away at. You see, the oil in the ground that has been pumped for moving vehicles and all kinds of production is like the blood of your earth, the blood of your body. It has to circulate, and they've been sucking it out. You will be having free energy. They are going to give you the technologies that have been suppressed and demolished to be out of your touch of being able to use and access that. So the friendly help that they're bringing is going to be astounding. They are bringing all kinds of information to bring truth and light into your lives. It is extremely friendly. There is nothing to fear. This universe was created in love, and anything that is not loving is an illusion, and those illusions will leave at the end of this year, and you will see how friendly this has been all along, now that the blinders are going to be removed. So yes, your inheritance is in front of you. Enjoy it, and your life can be relaxed and pleasurable. You will have time to pursue your interests and have sufficient funds to support yourself while you do these particular talents that might not in third dimension have supported you in an income. You will still be able to pursue them. So the friendly skies, you know, there was an airplane commercial years ago, Fly the Friendly Skies. And I want you to say they are friendly, and welcome them and greet them and extend your very compassionate thank yous for their coming to help provide this transition into being even more friendly as far as what the earth has had the experience of in the past. Can we move on?
Number 7. Is it possible to be affected by other people's thoughts or emotions? How might people recognize that they have been affected by others, and what might they do about it?
Very good question. So many people have felt victimized, abused, and hurt. And that's because you have taken on their emotional energy that has been negatively disruptive to your life. You have been taught many things that actually work against you in third dimension. You did not have the self-esteem and the emotional security to see it in a different perspective. And so going around taking on everybody's negativity actually created a loss of self-esteem. So how can you understand that they were projecting their energy onto you and you bought into it hook, line, and sinker? If you do not have enough self-esteem to realize that they're projecting their fears, their anxiety, and concerns onto you and making you the scapegoat, then you feel very victimized by that, like you have no choice to rise out of it, that you are stuck in this, where the alligators are, so to speak. However, that's not true, and more people are starting to understand that with that light shining inside of you, you have all the love necessary inside of you, and it doesn't matter what other people are saying or thinking about you. Years ago, there was a book called What Other People Think of Me Is None of My Business. And I certainly hope you can take that home with you today. We do not worry about what other people say about us anymore, because we know we are whole children of God, divine and perfected in God's image, and have the spirit of love of who we are today. So obviously that's not who you are when they say these unkind things. So realize that yes, they're hurting. They're not feeling right, and they don't want to feel those ugly feelings, and they're sending them on to you. Anger works very well that way. People get angry because they can't handle their fear, and then you get scared because they're angry. But realize that that's their anger. That's their emotional mindset. That's their fear, and it's not you. And you don't have to buy into their emotional distress any longer, because you have enough self-esteem as a child of God to know who you truly are. You are not what they're probably telling you and changing the truth to distort it to make you even feel worse. You see, when Marilyn had an experience several years ago, and she was called on the carpet and told what a terrible person she was in so many different ways, and never had a chance to actually clarify how things had been twisted and turned and used against her, as the person was explaining these situations of how she was so terrible, all of a sudden Marilyn realized, that's not the person I am anymore. Who's she talking about? And that's what we want you to realize. That's not the person you are anymore. They're just expressing their anger and discomfort. And that's okay, but don't take it on, because now you have the emotional security to realize that they're talking about themselves. It has nothing to do with you. And so you have emotional security, you have your self-esteem back, and you are free of buying into that. So you do not have to play the game of one person being passive and the other person being aggressive, and back and forth like a ping pong table with the ball going back and forth. You can pick up your ball and paddle and walk home and say, I don't choose to play that game anymore. I know I'm not a participant in that any longer. I have risen above all that to know that that is not who I am. And whatever they are acting out, if I send love to them, then over time, that will return to me, and I will see the situation change, because I have changed. I'm not participating in it anymore. I choose to rise above it and just see the love in everybody around me. So you see, It's been a huge lesson for everybody to learn to outgrow their immaturity and to grow into a mature, rational, loving person. You do not have to play the childish game any longer. You have grown up. Congratulations.
Question number 8. Does every relationship have a purpose? Is everything you see in another person a reflection of what you are working on in yourself? Is it true that by changing yourself, you can change the relationship?
Very good question. You see, relationships are so important. I know people that are living independently on their own, and they think, well, gee, I'm all by myself and there's no problems. And that's true, because there isn't someone to mirror back to you the difficulties you need to look at. And that's called denial. So if you do not have a relationship in your life that's close enough for you to be irritated at times, you're not growing spiritually. It's important to have relationships, because that is the key factor in your coming out of denial. What am I not seeing in myself I still need to address and look at and face, and maybe emotionally release that old dark energy so it can leave, and I'm not going to continue in that space any longer, passing out my anger to somebody else, and then they're coming back at me. Everybody signs up for a part in your life. You've asked them to do that. So how can you hold grudges against those people? How can you say what a terrible person they are? They volunteered to be there and play that part. Now, sometimes the parts are not very kind. Sometimes the parts are actually quite ugly. Sometimes it can be very devastating. However, everybody in this universe has to go through every level of vibration to raise into the highest consciousness. And that's what this earth is all about, is to help you give it a faster approach to be able to raise your energy into higher consciousness, where they find God, where you find love, where you find that bliss, that you're trying to come back into oneness. And so that you have come to earth with that person and other people to help show you how to heal your soul so you can rise above it. That's what Jesus was teaching on the cross when he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Most of those people out there don't even realize the part they're playing in your life. But you are on a road and a path where you have become enlightened enough to realize that even though they don't understand what they're doing, and they're in a very uncomfortable situation, they're literally playing that for you to come into compassion. So as you do grow, there is a beautiful story about a monk who was in Tibet with the Dalai Lama when the Chinese took it over, and the Dalai Lama was put into exile and was only allowed to take a few of his closest monks with him, and the rest were tortured by the Chinese. Now, the torture was excruciating. I will not even go into the humiliating torture that they went through, and many of them died. It was worse than words would want to tell. And one monk was able to survive this torture camp and left and found the Dalai Lama, traveled to where he found him, and was discussing his ordeal with the Dalai Lama, and said to him, I almost lost it. And the Dalai Lama looked at him in amazement, because this man had gone through so much. He had lost all things that most people would hold dear and cherished. And he said to him, "What do you mean you almost lost it?" And he said, "I almost lost my compassion for the Chinese." Can you rise above whatever situations are in your relationships and come into the compassion to see them as loving children of God, just like you are? That you are part of a family that is growing and expanding in spirit. It's all part of the picture. And it is important to know that you can rise above whatever difficulty in your relationship that you've had. You can rise above it in spirit and forgive them and walk away in a higher consciousness of love, no matter how bad it was. So your relationships definitely play an important part in your life. Next question.
Number 9. Is the future preordained? Is there free will? What do people gain by having free will? How might people create the futures they want?
Well, wonderful question. Just give me a minute. I have earlier talked about will, and yes, free will is there because God gave you free will to choose to be with Him or to separate from Him, which you really never separated, but was an illusion to see what it would be like as you healed your soul and returned into oneness. Free will has given you the ability to come back into who you truly are, to make that choice and to walk that path and to light your light inside so that you can become part of the light of the total consciousness of the higher consciousness of the universe. Would you read it once more for me, please, ma'am?
Yes. Is the future preordained? Is there free will? What do people gain by having free will? How might people create the futures they want?
Thank you. Free will is an opportunity to work at your own pace and to have the chance to find out what duality in extreme is about. The contrast. It's about contrast. So as you find the contrast in life, then you can choose another way. As you discover, as you go around the table, the banquet table, and you can choose the foods that are best for you and leave behind those that are not. You don't have to pick it all and you don't have to leave it all. You get to pick and choose, and free will gives you that choice. However, as you start to become more enlightened, you see more and more of the choices are actually good choices to help you grow and move. So you are less resistant to tasting something you maybe didn't want to taste in the past. Give it a try, see what it's like. The joy that can come from saying, oh, this was better than I expected, taking that risk, taking that step of hope that maybe things will work out. Coming out of your denial so you can say, gee, I don't have to hide from this anymore. I can actually see that I benefited in that situation and I don't have to be afraid of it anymore. I actually grew beyond that situation and benefited, actually became stronger for that weakness. So free will gives you the chance to experiment, to say, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, and see which one works out better, and then I can make a choice from my educated information. You see, so many people make a judgment before they've ever even looked at if what's the possibilities or the information might be. Some people say fear is just a lack of information. So as you inform yourself through your free will to try this and try that, you make better decisions that are best for you, in your best interests, and proceed and support you in moving into higher consciousness. And your emotional growth will be the result. And as you make those choices, there is no way that you would know how fast you're moving down the pike in third dimension. Your higher self has already determined, which are the right choices for this lifetime. So you can just accept that you are in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. However, it feels like a choice to either accept it or reject it. Now, when you reject those opportunities, don't take the risks, don't change your thinking, stay in the box with your belief system, all those things. When you reject, the only one you are hurting is you. In the long run, you're going to finally, in another lifetime, say, I'm not going to stay in the box any longer. This isn't fun being in the dark. I'm not going to continue this path because it just doesn't seem to get me where I want to be. It just actually digs the hole deeper. So at the right time and at the right place, these options will come up, and you can then have the free choice to change your direction. At one point, Marilyn realized she was this little turtle plodding down, kept going, and she discovered, oh, it was the wrong direction. All she had to do was turn around, and the tortoise and the hare, she just kept being the turtle and kept moving towards the opposite direction. And guess what? Her life changed miraculously. So with free will, you can just go the other direction and see the benefits that come from that. And yes, then you do create the life you're looking for. Some of you will remember the movie called Groundhog Day. It was a very funny show of day after day. His life gradually started to change gradually each time he woke up in the morning. He quit walking in the mud puddle, and he quit doing various things that he had done before, and gradually he moved into a loving person. And it is only through free will that that's allowable. And it's your choice. Whenever you choose to turn around and go that direction, you are free to do it. And it will create and provide for you all those things that are in your heart. Because as you have your heart available, as you're emotionally available, you will attract those things that you truly want like a magnet. So as you release the fears, the resentments, the angers, the guilt, the shame, whatever happened in the past has victimized and hurt you, and trauma, drama, whatever arguments or disagreements that you've had, when all those things can be settled, loved, and put to rest, then they will no longer block your heart's desires.
Question number 10. Does the earth itself have a consciousness or life force? What is its nature? What does the earth want right now? Is she sending out any messages?
Well, this is a wonderful question which I touched on earlier. We are all sentient beings. There is consciousness in everything. You might not think of it in the soil and minerals or the vegetables or the items you have in your home, but they all have a consciousness. This is what some languages, or rather countries, see it more clearly in the animals. Insects, they do not kill certain insects, worms, and cows, or you've heard of the sacred cows. And they're all conscious beings, sentient beings. Yes, the earth is also sentient. You are part of that sentience. We are all part of it. That is the total picture. And as the darkness precluded on the earth thousands of years ago and went into a descent of consciousness, as the duality became so heavy in darkness, at the beginning the turning of heaven, I'm losing my train of thought here. Getting it mixed up here instead of sequential. At the time of Atlantis, when it was blowing up, this is when things changed drastically. And it was downhill from there. Mother Earth was losing consciousness of the love that it was created in. Mother Earth was created in the love, which you call heaven on earth, or many people in the Bible called the Garden of Eden. And it was dying after many years, hundreds and thousands of years of constantly having the darkness preclude and becoming more and more overwhelming in the mental frame of mind of many of the people for control and greed and power. And so when Mother Earth was dying, she called out for help. It was very, very necessary for Mother Earth to have assistance, just as you need assistance in your lives. We are supposed to ask for help. We are not self-contained individuals. We are all connected in spirit. And she needed a jump start to get herself back. It's like when they put those clamps on a person to start their heart, and the person comes back to life. And several years ago, they called it something about fire. A lady was contacted by spirit and taught how to create that spark that was necessary to bring Mother Earth back to life. And she had a call out on the internet for people to buy this record, and she was sharing how all of us together could come into prayer and bring that spark, that energy back into Mother Earth with a worldwide prayer at the same time, that energy could come together and create that necessary rejuvenation that was to bring things back together. And it was important because individuals are coming awake and alive, but we needed a jolt. We needed something to bring it stronger than just individuals doing it separately. It had to come as a group. So it had to be a group, large group energy to help bring the energy up into what we are moving into at the end of this year. And all your energies as you change and grow and become more enlightened have helped support this. And when you are in meditation, you are supporting it. When you are in group prayers, you are supporting this. And you are supporting your brothers along and sisters along with this, so that as a whole unit, this whole planet will become into a oneness, you see. And so it is a growing process. God is spirit and expansion. And when it is allowed to expand, you feel good. And that's part of 2012, is not only are the planets aligning in the solar system, and this is a huge change at that time that the energy will shift, but you're allowing and producing and supporting and coming into creating more light through your will and free will to align with the energy of the universe. You see, it is bringing Mother Earth back into that which it was created in the first place, as a heaven for everyone, a Garden of Eden, where the planet will be restored back to its pristine beauty, and it will then flourish, and you will flourish like you have never seen before. So as the energy expands and expresses, it moves into wildest, beyond your wildest imaginations of what you can imagine. So just let your imagination run wild with what you can expect and what you can create in your lives. There will be no limitations.
Question number 10. Excuse me. Question number 11. What can be done now by an individual to contribute to world peace? What can be done by an individual to contribute to the conservation of nature?
Very good question. World peace is coming upon us. It might not seem right now because we still have turmoil going on in various countries, and sadly things are still disruptive and wars are being still fought. But you see, it's all part of raising the old energy up so it can leave. Sadly, sometimes those things are not comfortable in the transitional stages. So just as you might have a painful experience and you're having to cry and feel the experience and the pain of letting it leave, you see the earth is doing the same thing. And the wars are, and the volcanoes and the other tsunamis and all those things that are occurring on earth are all releasing energy, so that fear energy is leaving, and the leaving space for the love to replace it. So it's part of the transition. As that happens, peace will come in to replace the unsettledness and the unhappiness and the fears that have been so predominant. And not only will the world have peace, because what will happen is in your hearts you will come into peace. When you align your spirit with the Great Spirit, you come into peace. You are emotionally, spiritually experiencing spirit, where there is nothing but peace and serenity, calm, and all the tranquility of just being, no longer doing. As you become peaceful in your heart, because you have dispelled those things we've talked about earlier today, the only thing left is peace. And so as you become peaceful and you spread that to those around you to become peaceful, you don't act off of their craziness, you just have peace inside. They'll settle right down, you see. So it's peace will spread through your peace until it encompasses the whole earth. Now this will not happen overnight. This is a general process, and it is one person by one person, one country by one country, hemispheres by hemispheres. Gradually it will all come together, and it all starts with you. So yes, peace on earth is possible, it is happening, and it is going to take a few more years for it to actually be the mainstream of life. You might look forward to being in a really truly peaceful place after 2026. Marilyn was in a class several years back, actually about 25 years ago, and she was asked to create a poster of what she saw the future like. And in the poster she drew the world, and around the world were all these people joining hands in a circle around the earth, and in their hearts was she drew a heart of love inside of each of the people surrounding the earth, and they were singing joyously in peace. And she went to put down on her, she was to date when this would happen. And she went to put down, and this was 25 years ago, she went to put down the date 2012. And her guides literally changed her hand to write 2026. So her intention was sooner than what is really going to happen for us. But it is going to happen, and the beginning stages are in the process, as you know. But the actual alignment of the earth lining up is the pivotal point. And so it is coming, it is in the process, and yes, as you become peaceful, it will just fall into place. There was another part of that question, I believe.
It had to do with nature. What can be done by an individual to contribute to the conservation of nature?
Oh, I like that question. Because man has devastated the earth so sacrilegiously. They have literally scalped the surface of the earth and extracted the minerals and fluids of the earth, and they have just devastated out of greed and power, and obliterated so much of the beauty and pristine quality that earth was created with. So to restore that, as I mentioned, the extraterrestrials are helping us with that. We'll be able to do even more so when they're acknowledged and can land. But you can do your part too. And your part is to use what you need, but not more. The Indians are the best example that we can follow. When they had their buffalo hunts, they killed the buffalo they needed for food, for the skins of their teepees, for the bones that they used for tools, and all parts. The fur was used for their robes and blankets, and they used all parts of the buffalo. Man came along and killed the buffalo just for the game, just for the hunt, and destroyed thousands and thousands of beautiful animals just for the joy of it. Now the Indians have served such a good example that the animals want to be there and be of service to us and be there for us, but not to obliterate and abuse and go into excessive waste so that beautiful things are destroyed. So in using the tools or the nature for your good is wonderful. That is why it is there. Just be prudent. Just be cautious that you don't use more than you need. Just save it for another time if you have a collected extra, so you might be ready for winter time. That's perfectly acceptable. Just don't waste it so that it cannot have its own existence and survive and have a life of its own because of your greed or your lack of care. So to love and cherish those things that are there for your use, but not to abuse it and to make it be wasteful. So yes, nature does not want us to go without their providing for our needs in various ways, but we want to use it with prudence and be conservative and loving and appreciative that it is there for our use, and not to be disrespectful of it. So as we respect that it is giving its life for us, then it feels like it was not a life in vain. Just like we would not like to live a life in vain either. And yes, I know the people in this room I'm talking to, what you might call the choir, and you are not that kind of person, but that was part of the question. Is that everything on the list?
There's one more question.
All right.
Question number 12. What is the purpose of learning to channel? How will it serve me and mankind?
Excellent question. You all can channel. You all can be in connection with your higher power and that voice within, that silent voice. It's a matter of trusting yourself and trusting what you receive. So it is a matter of getting the guidance that you need for your life, and your guidance is the right guidance for you, and to abide by that information. So many people look outside of themselves for answers and for gurus and saviors and all kinds of ways to get their answers because they don't know how to go inside and how to be in that environment that is so productive and positive. They're afraid of it, or else they've been taught to be afraid of it, as Marilyn was years back. So to use your channeling to communicate with your guides and your God and your angels and all those masters that are around you, your entourage, your doctors, all those that are there to sustain and help you walk through this path, are giving you messages all the time. Are you listening? You see, channeling is a very important part, because as we move into higher consciousness, more and more messages will become telepathic, and you will receive the information you need through that type of communication. Are you open to that kind of communication? Are you willing to pay attention to it and follow instructions? You see, you can be open and listen, but if you do not walk in it, it is still not being productive for you. So I suggest that you get in touch with your meditations, with your guides, and we have a guide here. Your guides are here this afternoon to help you with the exercise we have for you today. So this will be a chance to practice using that guidance within to help you see and stay on the path that you're trying to accomplish and where you want to be, and to use it for productive and prosperous ways in your life that will come out in a better way than maybe you would have expected. Would you please repeat the question one more time?
What is the purpose of learning to channel? How will it serve me and mankind?
Well, as you channel, you start to become in touch with things that you were not in touch with before. You start to see the oneness of the world. When Marilyn was at Easter Island, she talked with the rocks. That was the first time to her experience of being able to communicate with rocks. And she realized that at some point in her development, she was of the mineral level of development. At this point, she can communicate through channeling with plants and animals. And this is another level of, we have all been mineral, vegetable, animal, and moved into humans. And as you open up to channeling, you are going to be able to channel with those of the are in the spaceships and get your directions and information. Not just a person who channels, but everybody will be able to connect with the extraterrestrials and be able to communicate to spaceships and those that will be landing. It will be done telepathically. So you're opening yourself up to the oneness of it all. Your energy is blending and merging with all of spirit. And as that happens, as you grow and merge more and more in spirit, you're physically less solid. You move gradually into being more and more spirit, and eventually moving from Christ consciousness, you will then actually merge your spirit with the spirit of all. Now, as people do this, it's a gradual process, so it is not real obvious. But to be open to the information that comes through the silent voice, or knowing, or intuition, whatever way you receive information, it's individual for everybody, but to trust it and to act on it, because that is the only way you can actually start to go into the spiritual realm, is by being available to the inner messages and spirit within you. So channeling is a very practical experience of opening yourself up to what you're trying to truly achieve. And to do it on a regular basis, I suggest that you pick a time that works for you, so spirit knows, oh, you know, when they wake up in the morning, this is when I need to be there, or whatever time of the day works for you. Another thing that is very helpful is so often people are so busy throughout the day and they stop for a coffee break. May I suggest, instead of stopping for a coffee break, why don't you stop for a meditation break? You will be much more restored, you will feel much more refreshed, and you will be in tune with that spiritual energy that is your sustaining life force. So it could be very productive in many ways, and your life and your health will actually improve. So it is probably the #1 focus you might want to choose as far as being in conscious contact with a higher power, is through your meditations, and channeling is just a realm of that. When you channel those that have passed over on the other side in the third dimension, but are still in third dimension, but have left this planet of duality at this point in time to reincarnate, people that channel that particular energy are called psychics. But those that channel those that have moved into fifth dimension and above, those are called mediums. And they connect with the masters and the ascended masters and the hierarchy of spirit. So just be aware that when you're channeling, if it sounds negative, it is probably of the third dimension, and you might want to change your connection to a higher level so you have access to more of the truth. Not that psychics are bad, they have wonderful information that can be very, very important and helpful and very supportive. Just be sure that you are getting the highest and best information for you, and that it is positive, productive, and encouraging, always helping you to expand to be the better and best you possible. So that would be a guide in channeling. Anything that comes up that bothers you or upsets you, walk away quickly and find others that are channeling in a way that will be very supportive and very loving and caring.
That covers all the questions.
Well, I want to thank you all for being here today. I hope this answered a lot of the questions you might have had over time and just never asked because you forgot. So I'd like to tell you have a very pleasant afternoon, and Archangel Michael has a little exercise to help you get used to listening to your guide if you haven't practiced that very often, and so she will explain that for you. So I'm going to say goodbye and wish you well and to have a lovely day.
Thank you, John. Thank you for being here.
John.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm so glad to be here today. I'm Archangel Ariel. And
Welcome.
I have a, thank you, Mac. I have a wonderful little exercise to help you hopefully find your way a little better on your path and into the future. And so many people are interested in how to do that. So I would like you to think today of just what might be your greatest desire in your future. And just take a big deep breath in right now and just relax so you can really get in touch with your guide. And breathe out the old air. And breathe in love. And breathe out your frustrations. And just put yourself in the most relaxed state that you can be. And as you've been determining what is your greatest desire for the future, think of a symbol that represents that desire. What would you say would be a symbol for that particular thing that you are so thinking is important to you? And as you think about that symbol, your guide has come in and standing next to you. And I want you to greet your guide and connect in a telepathic way with your guide. And say hello or whatever choice of a greeting you choose to have. And it is not important if you know the guide's name, but that he is there or she is there for you. And now you are being asked to take that symbol and throw it out into the future. And your guide has a lantern that is holding up the symbol as it's going out into the future and lighting that part of your future for you to be able to walk on that lighted path. So throw it out into the future. And your guide is going to help you walk that path and help you with information about that path that you can use as a reference and information. So as you take your steps down your path of your future, and you will see next to you a calendar on the wall next to you, and it says a week from today. So you will mark a week from today on your calendar, and your guide is holding his light on your path for you to see as you're moving forward. But right now, as you stand a week from today, he's asking you to imagine or think or have ideas about what is going on with your greatest desire, what is going on a week from today that you see yourself in, not now, but what will be happening at that time. And listen to his feedback to you. And now it's time to proceed down your path of light. And as you go closer to your desired wish, it is now a month from now. And you see a calendar on the wall next to you. And you mark the date for a month from today. In this case, it would be October 15th. And you are to imagine, listen, feel, intuitive, whatever is going on in your progress for your desired wish. And as you listen to that information, it is time to move on down your path. And your guide is holding his lantern high as you come to 3 months from today, and showing you the calendar once more time. And you are marking the date on your calendar. And you are imagining, feeling, sensing, even smelling or feeling, touching those things that are going on with you as you proceed to your intense interest for your future. And now it's time to proceed again further down your lighted path as your guide approaches 9 months out from today. He's holding the light up to your calendar. You're marking the calendar so you can experience what is going on 9 months for today and your progress towards your desired goal, the emphasis you have for your future that you sent out that symbol for, what's going on in that progression. As you are listening to your information, and your guide is going to take you to 1 year from today. And he's holding his lantern next to your calendar. And at this point, you mark the calendar for 1 year from today. And I want you to experience what has happened along the path, but where are you at that point in the progress of what you are trying to accomplish, succeed, or fulfill, find success? What is going on with you at that time, 1 year from today? Listen to his words. And now your guide would like you to ask him some questions about your path. Your first questions might be, or you can choose your own questions, but a suggestion might be, what choices and decisions do I have to make throughout the year to get to this point? And another question you might choose to ask your guide is, what behaviors or actions or thoughts are going to help me achieve my desired results for my success? And if you have another question you choose to ask, we will give you a few moments for that. And at this time, I want you to know that this process can be repeated with other pertinent desires that are important to you, and you can take it out into the future and get information to help you stay on that high road approaching what you are trying to accomplish and you so desire to become part of your life. So it is possible to see your future and get information about your part in achieving that particular destination for you. And you can even take it further into the future if you choose. So I suggest that you try it at home sometime and see how it works there too. I want to thank you for being here. I love to send blessings, and I hope that you received some blessings and answers in our exercise today. You are truly blessed and always have been blessed. And the only thing that has told you otherwise is not true. So you can let that other information leave and know that you are truly a child of God, created in the loving, perfect Spirit. You are perfect love, and to let your light shine for others to be attracted to you. Your life will become a different place as you change into the light that you truly were created as. I wish you all the greatest blessings in the universe. May God bless you all. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming, Ariel.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, Ariel.
Well, everybody, I just hope that you have got some answers today.
Thank you,
Lots of
Martha.
them.
Yes.
Thank you, Martha.
Well, I hope it was helpful, because I know information helps answer questions, and that's what it was about today. So take your answers and live a happy life, and there is a happily ever after, I want you to know, and it's coming soon, and you're a part of it, and you're growing into it, and it's going to be beautiful, so we'll all be there together.
Thank you, Martha.
And Martha,
Yes.
there was a little discoordination when we started our meeting. Hopefully it hasn't had any physical effect on Marilyn. Is she all right?
She was aware that there was a problem, and we have taken care of her, so don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for checking. Everybody have a beautiful day, and toodaloo.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo, Martha. Thank you, Martha.